Laura Farms. You know the name, but did you know that this woman has taken farming into the digital age in a way no one else has? With a massive following online, Laura is redefining what it means to be a farmer in today's world. But it's not just about crops and cows. Behind the scenes, there are some surprising things that Laura has done to build her empire. Things you definitely won't find in your typical farming story. So what's the real story behind Laura Farms? From business secrets to personal challenges, keep watching as we reveal 7 things you didn't know about this trailblazing farmer. When you scroll through TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram and see the name Laura Farms, it feels like the most natural and fitting title for a young woman confidently commanding tractors, managing crop fields, and vlogging her life in the Midwest. But what many fans might not know is that Laura Farms isn't actually her real name. It's a branding decision that turned out to be genius. Her real name is Laura Carlson, and while the Farms surname may seem obvious for someone in agriculture, it's more than just a nod to her career. It's a calculated identity that helped her carve out a recognizable niche in the vast ocean of online content. In an industry where most influencers go by their actual names or stage names rooted in fashion, beauty, or gaming, Laura's choice to incorporate her lifestyle into her brand name was strategic and deeply effective. Laura Farms is simple, memorable, and immediately conveys who she is and what she does, creating an immediate connection with her audience, even before they watch a single video. This name also gave her flexibility. Instead of pigeonholing herself as just another farm girl, she presented herself as an entity, Laura Farms, the brand. It's like a window into her entire world. Not just her as an individual, but also the generations of farming tradition that back her up. What's interesting is that her followers often refer to her as Laura Farms, even in casual conversation, showing how her brand name has practically become her public identity. This kind of brand cohesion is rare, especially in the niche of agriculture content, and it has helped her stand out in a crowded digital landscape where authenticity is everything. It's also a reminder that Laura is not just posting content. She's building something. She's not only a farmer or a YouTuber, she's a businesswoman who understands the power of personal branding. In a digital world where first impressions matter, Laura Farms communicates more in 2 words than most influencer bios do in an entire paragraph. It's not just a name, it's a statement. It tells you she's not here to post cute countryside aesthetics and call it a day. She's here to show you the grit, the machinery, the long days, and the unexpected joy of living off the land. And by naming herself after the very life she leads, Laura didn't just embrace her roots, she made them her banner. That's something many creators strive for but few actually achieve. As you dive deeper into Laura's story, you start to realize that this seemingly simple branding decision is just the tip of the iceberg. While her name might be easy to remember, what goes on behind the scenes of Laura Farms is anything but simple. What exactly was the turning point that propelled Laura from a hobbyist content creator to a full-fledged business mogul? And just how did she manage to balance her growing online empire with the demands of actual farming? A job that requires physical labor, mental sharpness, and a deep connection to the land? But the surprises don't stop there. You won't believe the hidden challenges Laura faced when it came to scaling her brand. How did she overcome the fierce competition from other farming influencers? What were the untold sacrifices she had to make along the way? And what's the next step in her journey that could completely redefine the way we think about agriculture and social media? One of the most impressive and least understood things about Laura Farms is the depth of her roots in agriculture. She's not just someone who picked up a camera and decided to farm for the likes and follows. She's a 6th-generation farmer from Nebraska, and that alone tells you everything you need to know about how ingrained the farming lifestyle is in her blood. Her family has been working the same land for over a century, which means she's part of a legacy built through decades of resilience, sweat, and generational knowledge passed down from one family member to the next. It's a legacy that stretches back to a time before electricity reached rural areas, before tractors were mainstream, and before social media even existed. To her, farming isn't just a job, it's an identity, a responsibility, and an inheritance. Being the 6th link in a chain that long brings an emotional weight to everything she does on the farm, and it shows in her content. What makes this even more profound is the way Laura blends this legacy with modern technology and online storytelling. While her ancestors may have plowed the land with horses or early tractors, she now manages enormous modern farm equipment with precision, often using GPS and automation to get the job done. But even as she operates a massive combine or navigates planting season with surgical accuracy, there's an unspoken connection to the generations that came before her. The farm she works on isn't just land, it's her family's history, built field by field, crop by crop. She honors that legacy with every harvest, even as she broadcasts it to millions of followers who may never set foot on a farm in their lives. This generational continuity is rare in today's fast-moving world, where many people move from job to job or city to city. Laura represents a kind of stability that's increasingly hard to find, but that doesn't mean her life is stuck in the past. On the contrary, she's the perfect example of how tradition and innovation can work hand in hand. Her videos don't just showcase modern farming, they show how deeply farming is tied to family, to memory, and to identity. In sharing that, Laura gives her followers more than just a behind-the-scenes look at planting soybeans or fixing equipment. She gives them a living, breathing story about American agriculture, told through the eyes of someone who is both a product of the past and a pioneer of the future. As Laura continues to navigate the complexities of modern farming while honoring her family's legacy, the question arises, how does she balance this massive responsibility with the pressures of social media fame? What sacrifices has she had to make, not just as a farmer, but as a person trying to keep the traditions of her ancestors alive in a world that's constantly changing? But what happens when tradition clashes with progress? Will the farming techniques she's so dedicated to preserving be able to survive in the rapidly advancing world of technology and commerce? And as her popularity grows, how does the spotlight affect her personal life? And more importantly, her connection to the land? These are just some of the mysteries still unfolding in Laura's journey. Will she remain rooted in her family's history, or is there a future ahead where her digital presence reshapes the very way agriculture is perceived by the public? Keep watching to find out what truly drives Laura Farms, and what she might be willing to risk in the process. When people picture a farmer, they often conjure up the image of a rugged man in overalls, maybe with a weathered face and calloused hands, standing beside a tractor or in the middle of a cornfield. What they don't typically imagine is someone like Laura Carlson, a young woman with blonde hair, a bright smile, and a camera in one hand while running heavy machinery with the other. That's exactly why she stands out so much. Laura is doing more than just working a farm. She's breaking down deeply entrenched gender norms that have long dominated the agriculture industry. She's showing the world in real time that women belong in farming just as much as men do. And not just in the background or behind the scenes, front and center, with full control of the equipment, the decisions, and the storytelling. In an industry historically dominated by men, women have often been viewed as secondary players, helping with books, meals, and livestock chores, but rarely seen operating the massive machines or handling the day-to-day decision-making on major crop operations. Laura is flipping that narrative completely. From planting corn to driving massive John Deere tractors, she proves that skill has no gender. She's hands-on with every aspect of farming, handling maintenance, fixing breakdowns, and running her family's operations during some of the most demanding parts of the season. And she's not just doing it quietly, she's doing it with a camera rolling, turning what would normally be invisible labor into highly visible proof that women are thriving in roles once assumed to be male only. What makes Laura's contribution even more powerful is the way she empowers other women to enter or stay in agriculture. Her visibility gives young girls and women a role model, someone who shows them it's not only possible to farm, but that they can do it with confidence, grit, and professionalism. She regularly receives messages from fans, both women and men, thanking her for opening their eyes to a more inclusive image of farming. And Laura doesn't just break gender stereotypes for women. She challenges all outdated ideas of what a farmer should look like. With her social media presence, she's cultivating a new image of agriculture, one that includes diversity, youth, and femininity. But it isn't always easy. Laura has faced doubt, criticism, and even outright misogyny from online trolls and skeptics. Yet, instead of backing down, she continues to show up, competent, confident, and completely herself. And in doing so, she's paving the way for a future where farming is seen as a place of opportunity for everyone, regardless of gender. Laura isn't just farming crops, she's planting seeds of change. As Laura continues to grow her presence and break down barriers in the farming world, her journey is far from over. The impact she's having on the industry and society as a whole is undeniable, but what's next for her? Will her influence help spark a larger movement of women taking control of the farming industry? Could her story inspire a whole new generation of young farmers, both men and women, who see agriculture not as a gendered space, but as a field where anyone can thrive? But there's a deeper question lurking in the background. With all the praise she receives for her trailblazing efforts, what does Laura face behind closed doors? The scrutiny, the pressure, and the challenges of being in the public eye have begun to take a toll, but does she have what it takes to keep pushing forward? What are the personal sacrifices she's had to make in order to stay true to herself and her mission? And as the world starts to take notice, will the agricultural community fully embrace this shift? Or will resistance continue to rear its head in ways that could threaten everything Laura has worked so hard to achieve? As Laura's story unfolds, one thing is certain. The future of farming is about to change forever, but the real question is, who will be ready to adapt and who will get left behind? Laura Carlson didn't just inherit the family farm, she turned it into a digital phenomenon. In a world where most influencers gravitate toward beauty, travel, or tech niches, Laura carved out a space for agriculture and made it not only educational but highly entertaining. Her channel, known widely as Laura Farms, has grown into one of the most recognized digital platforms in the farming community. What began as a few videos documenting her day-to-day farm work quickly evolved into a full-blown content machine, attracting millions of views across platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Her success proves that you don't need to live in a big city or have a glossy aesthetic to build a powerful online presence. You just need to be real, relatable, and passionate about your story. What sets Laura apart in the social media landscape is how she manages to strike a perfect balance between showing the gritty realities of farming and keeping her content engaging for a broad audience. You'll find her guiding viewers through how to operate a $500,000 combine, fixing a flat tire on a piece of machinery, or explaining the science behind crop rotation, all with the same enthusiasm and transparency that makes her feel more like a friend than a teacher. Her content doesn't rely on flash or filters, instead it thrives on authenticity. She doesn't pretend to have all the answers, and she isn't afraid to show the mistakes, the mishaps, and the muddy boots. That rawness is what keeps people coming back. Her influence extends far beyond just numbers. Laura has become a face of modern agriculture. She's brought a spotlight to rural life and helped bridge the gap between urban audiences and farming communities. People who never gave a second thought to where their food comes from are now watching her videos to learn about planting seasons, seed types, and even how to read yield maps. By turning these once niche topics into digestible, entertaining content, she's helping educate the public about one of the most essential and often misunderstood industries on the planet. And let's not forget, Laura does it all while still working on the farm full-time. She's not just filming for content's sake. Her camera is often rolling while she's genuinely troubleshooting a problem or racing against weather conditions to finish planting. That authenticity creates a strong emotional connection with her audience. People don't just follow her, they root for her. They invest in her journey, celebrate her wins, and feel her frustrations. That's what makes her a true powerhouse. Not just her reach, but the real, lasting impact she's having on how people view farming in the digital age. Some of the criticism stems from outdated stereotypes. People who believe women have no place operating large equipment or running a commercial farm. Others come from internet trolls who take issue with anyone gaining popularity online, regardless of the content. Laura has also been criticized for just filming herself driving a tractor, as some commenters dismissively put it, failing to recognize the educational and cultural value of her videos. They overlook the fact that she's providing rare, first-hand insight into an industry that feeds the world, insight that most people never get to see. And while it might look easy from a screen, the reality behind the camera is a life of long hours, physical labor, and constant problem-solving. Then there are those who nitpick every detail, analyzing her gear, second-guessing her methods, or accusing her of not being real enough. This kind of constant surveillance would be exhausting for anyone, but for Laura, it comes on top of the already demanding responsibilities of running a farm. She's spoken openly about how some of the criticism has impacted her, revealing the mental toll of being in the public eye while simply trying to do her job. Still, her response to all of it has been remarkably grounded. Rather than clap back or start online feuds, she stays focused on her work, lets her actions speak louder than her critics, and continues to show up, day after day, season after season. What's admirable is that Laura hasn't let the negativity change her tone or her mission. If anything, it's strengthened her sense of purpose. She knows that by putting herself out there, she's not just telling her own story, she's representing a new wave of farmers, many of whom also face skepticism or exclusion. Her perseverance in the face of online backlash sends a powerful message to her followers, especially young women. Don't let anyone else define your worth. Keep going, stay true, and let your work do the talking. When most people think of Laura Carlson, the first image that comes to mind is her confidently operating a combine harvester across a vast Nebraska field, or maybe adjusting equipment on a dusty summer day. But what often goes unnoticed is just how multifaceted she really is. Yes, Laura is a dedicated full-time farmer, but she's also an entrepreneur, a media personality, a content creator, and a spokesperson for modern agriculture. Her presence online has transformed her from a local farmhand into a global advocate for the farming lifestyle, and that evolution reveals a side of her that goes well beyond the boundaries of the cornfield she works on. First and foremost, Laura is a businesswoman. Farming in the 21st century isn't just about knowing when to plant or how to fix a tractor. It's about understanding market prices, budgeting fuel costs, working with insurance, managing long-term planning, and often negotiating with suppliers or buyers. Laura does all of this while also juggling the demands of a growing online brand. She coordinates video shoots, interacts with her audience, negotiates sponsorship deals, and even collaborates with ag-tech companies, all while still waking up early to tend to the land. That's not just hard work, it's high-level multitasking. Many people don't realize the amount of behind-the-scenes effort that goes into running both a farm and a social media presence. Laura isn't just succeeding in one area, she's excelling in both, and that's no small feat. Then there's her impact as an educator. While she doesn't hold a formal teaching degree, Laura teaches millions of people every week. Her videos explain agricultural processes, equipment functions, environmental challenges, and even farming economics in ways that are accessible to audiences who may have never set foot on a farm. And she does it all with patience, clarity, and a genuine passion for sharing what she knows. The ripple effect of that kind of content is huge. She's helping bridge the gap between rural and urban life, making farming feel relevant and human to people who live in cities or suburbs and have never seen how food is actually produced. Beyond her career and educational work, Laura is also a wife, daughter, and community member. Her marriage to Grant, another farmer, adds a personal dimension to her content. Viewers get a glimpse of the human relationships that keep her grounded and supported. She occasionally shares moments from her life off the tractor, reminding her audience that farming is not just a job, but a lifestyle. Through these moments, we see that Laura is not just building a farm, she's building a future, and she's doing it on her own terms. When you really step back and look at what Laura Carlson, aka Laura Farms, has accomplished, it becomes clear that her impact reaches far beyond the boundaries of her Nebraska fields. Through her videos, photos, and authentic storytelling, she's not just documenting life on a farm, she's reshaping how an entire generation views agriculture. Farming, once thought of as a fading or outdated profession by many city dwellers or younger audiences, is being reimagined in real time thanks to her. And it's not just that she's making farming cool or interesting, it's that she's showing how essential, innovative, and deeply human the industry really is. In a time when fewer people have direct ties to rural life or agriculture, the disconnect between consumers and food producers has never been more significant. Most people have no idea how their food is grown, what goes into raising a crop, or what challenges farmers face in an era of climate change, market instability, and rapid technological development. Laura is helping to close that gap. She's not lecturing from a textbook, she's showing it firsthand. Whether it's dealing with weather delays, adjusting seed rates, or explaining crop insurance, Laura makes these complex issues digestible and relatable. She's educating without preaching, inspiring without glamorizing, and connecting without pretending to have all the answers. That kind of real-world transparency is rare, and it's what makes her content feel trustworthy and valuable. Laura's influence is also helping redefine what modern farming looks like, with her use of social media, advanced technology, and digital outreach. She proves that being a farmer in 2025 isn't about clinging to the past, it's about embracing innovation. She operates GPS-guided equipment, understands data analysis, collaborates with ag-tech firms, and even discusses sustainability topics, all while bringing her audience along for the ride. She's showing the world that today's farmers are tech-savvy, business-minded, and resilient. That narrative shift is powerful, especially when it reaches people who previously dismissed farming as low-skill or old-fashioned. But perhaps most importantly, Laura is helping restore a sense of pride and visibility to the farming community itself. For so long, rural life has been overlooked or misunderstood in mainstream media. By showing up consistently and authentically, Laura gives farmers everywhere a voice and a face they can relate to. Someone who knows the grind, the heartache, the victories, and the sheer will it takes to keep going season after season. Her influence doesn't stop at the screen. It echoes through fields across the country, inspiring the next generation to see farming not as a fallback, but as a future worth fighting for.